There is a moment in a woman's life when something subtle yet undeniable shifts. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't ask for attention, but it changes everything. And from that moment on, every man who meets her remembers her. Not because she tried to impress him, not because she bent herself into shapes to be chosen, but because she stepped into something far more powerful, her true feminine essence, the kind that leaves an imprint not on his mind, but on his psyche. Why does this happen? Why do some women pass through a man's life like a soft breeze, while others linger in his memory like a constellation he can't unsee? As Carl Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. And when a woman stands rooted in her authentic feminine power, the reaction is not just emotional. It is psychological, archetypal, unforgettable. But before we go deeper, let's begin gently, as the path of true femininity always begins, with a return to the self. The self beneath the roles, beneath the expectations, beneath the noise of a world that often confuses femininity with performance. Jung believed that the feminine, the anima, is not a behavior but an energy, fluid, intuitive, magnetic. When a woman reconnects with this inner source, she stops chasing. She stops proving. She stops negotiating her worth. Instead, she becomes a presence, a field. And presence is something the masculine psyche cannot ignore. Imagine a woman who walks into a room not trying to be noticed, yet the air subtly changes. There is depth in her stillness, warmth in her gaze, a kind of soft strength that doesn't need to speak loudly to be felt. She radiates something ancient, something every man recognizes even if he cannot name it. Jung would say she has aligned with her inner archetype, the sovereign, the muse, the intuitive guide. And this alignment leaves an imprint because it awakens the same archetype within him. This is the psychological mark feminine power leaves. A pull toward authenticity, a mirror reflecting his own unrealized potential, a feeling that being around her makes him more himself. And the truth is, she isn't doing anything to him. She's simply becoming more whole within herself. There's a quiet truth most people overlook. When a woman steps into her true feminine power, she doesn't just change how she moves through the world. She changes how the world responds to her. And men, especially, feel this shift with surprising intensity. Not because she's trying to attract them, but because her energy stirs something deep inside the masculine psyche, something ancient and instinctive. As Carl Jung noted, the psyche wants to become whole, and a woman rooted in her authentic feminine becomes a catalyst for that longing. But what does this power actually look like? It's not seduction. It's not flirtation. It's not the curated softness that social media sells. True feminine power is grounded. It's warm but not eager, open but not empty. It is the presence of a woman who knows who she is and no longer abandons herself for connection. Men feel this instantly. It confronts them with a level of emotional and spiritual maturity they don't often encounter. There is something magnetic about a woman who doesn't rush to fill silence, who doesn't crumble under pressure to be interesting, who trusts that simply being her is enough. In Jung's view, such a woman has integrated the polarity within herself, her intuition and her clarity, her softness and her boundaries. And when these qualities coexist harmoniously, they create an aura that stays with a man long after she's gone. She imprints him not by performing, but by reflecting truth. She becomes the mirror in which he sees the gap between who he is and who he could become. And that is a memory the psyche refuses to release. Because when a woman embodies her feminine essence, she awakens something symbolic, almost mythic, in him. She becomes the anima figure, the inner feminine energy present in every man. And meeting her in the outer world feels like meeting a lost part of himself. It's not romance that makes her unforgettable. It's recognition. He remembers her because she touched a hidden place inside him that had been waiting, sometimes for years, to be acknowledged. There is a specific moment, often invisible, often quiet, when a man realizes he cannot forget her. Not because she chased him or tried to make herself indispensable, but because she awakened something within him that he didn't even know was sleeping. And here is the paradox. The more she stands in her true feminine presence, the less she tries to influence him, the deeper the imprint she leaves. Carl Jung often spoke about the power of the unconscious, the realm where true transformation happens. And when a woman embodies authentic femininity, she doesn't touch a man's surface-level emotions. She touches his unconscious. She stirs the archetypal layers, the symbolic realms where identity, desire, and purpose are formed. This is why some women, even after brief encounters, remain unforgettable. But what exactly does she awaken in him? First, she awakens his desire for truth. Not romantic truth, not poetic truth, but the truth of who he could be if he lived from his deeper self. Her presence calls forth the version of himself that has been buried under expectations, fears, and performances. Jung described this as the tension between the persona, the mask we show the world, and the self, the core of who we truly are. She naturally bypasses the persona and speaks to the self, and the self never forgets what calls it home. Second, she awakens his longing to step into his own masculine power, not the aggressive kind, but the grounded, purposeful, conscious masculine that Jung connected with the archetype of the hero. When she embodies her feminine, she becomes the catalyst for his inner hero, not by inspiring ego-driven conquest, but by illuminating the path toward inner integrity. Third, she awakens emotional resonance. And this is where feminine power becomes almost mysterious. A woman aligned with her intuition, her sensitivity, her inner rhythm creates a felt sense, a kind of emotional signature. He may not understand it logically, but he feels it. It follows him long after she leaves, echoing in moments of quiet, reminding him of something meaningful, something real. And here is the deepest truth. She imprints him not through attachment, but through authenticity. Not through effort, but through presence. Not through control, but through self-possession. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And a woman who embraces that privilege becomes unforgettable, because she opens the door for him to do the same. There is a different kind of gravity in a woman who has stepped into her true feminine power. It's not the gravity of seduction, it's the gravity of authenticity. Men don't feel pulled to her the way they do towards someone who performs femininity. They feel drawn to her in a way that bypasses logic entirely. And this is where the psychological imprint deepens. A woman in her feminine power carries something rare in today's world: energetic coherence. Her inner world and her outer world match. Her words align with her actions. Her boundaries reflect her values. Her softness is real, not a strategy. In Jung's view, this coherence is a sign that she has begun integrating her psyche, embracing not only her light, but also her shadow. And that integration creates a presence that stays with people long after they've crossed her path. Men sense this integration even if they can't explain it. They sense her clarity. They sense her emotional steadiness. They sense that she is not fractured inside. And for a man who hasn't yet met his own depth, this can feel both comforting and disarming. Jung wrote that the feminine, when balanced, becomes a guide to the deepest layers of the soul. This is precisely why such a woman becomes unforgettable. She becomes an inner compass. But there's something even more fascinating. A woman in her feminine power does not demand emotional intimacy. She invites it without a single word. Her presence is spacious. Her attention is warm but not intrusive. Her silence is not empty. It is alive, reflective. Around her, a man often feels more connected to himself than he does to her. And that experience becomes the imprint he cannot shake. Because she didn't flood him with attention. She didn't try to win him. She didn't chase his validation. Instead, She held her center. She remained whole. She allowed him to meet her without contorting herself to meet him. And this equilibrium is psychologically striking. It is the moment when a man realizes, this woman doesn't need me, and somehow that makes me want to rise. It awakens the archetypal masculine within him, the part that wants to protect, to deepen, to show up with integrity. She activates his potential simply by embodying her own, and long after she's gone, the echo of her presence continues to shape him. It becomes a quiet call back to himself, back to honesty, back to depth. There is a moment, delicate, nearly invisible, when a man realizes that the woman before him is unlike anyone he has met before. Not because she is perfect, not because she is distant or mysterious, but because she radiates a kind of inner alignment that cannot be faked. And this, more than anything, creates the psychological imprint he will carry for years. A woman in her true feminine power is not defined by softness alone. Her power is not in how gently she speaks or how gracefully she moves. Her power is in the harmony she has created within herself. In Jungian terms, she has begun integrating her inner feminine and her inner masculine, the anima and animus within her. This integration gives her a rare balance, a calmness that holds strength, and a strength that never loses its warmth. Men feel this instantly. They may not have language for it, but they feel the subtle shift in the air when she enters a room. She has presence, but not performance. She has boundaries, but not walls. She has sensitivity, but not fragility. And this equilibrium affects him in ways he cannot easily explain. Because here is the truth. Men remember how a woman makes them feel about themselves. And a woman rooted in her feminine essence makes him feel more alive, more honest, more present. She invites him, simply by being, to step out of the noise of his mind and into the clarity of his being. Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart." And somehow, around her, looking inward feels natural rather than frightening. She becomes a kind of mirror, not the mirror that reflects flaws, but the mirror that reflects potential. Around her, he sees the man he could be, stronger, steadier, truer. And this is what imprints him. Her presence awakens his higher self. But there's something even deeper. A woman in her feminine power does not collapse for love. She does not diminish to be more acceptable. She does not stretch herself thin to be chosen. Instead, she stands in her truth gently but unmistakably. And this, paradoxically, creates a sense of safety that no amount of effort could manufacture. Men crave this safety, not the safety of comfort, but the safety of authenticity. With her, he feels invited to be real. With her, he feels seen without being judged. With her, he feels challenged without being shamed. And even if he walks away, even if life moves them onto separate paths, the imprint remains. The memory of a woman who made him feel closer to the man he has always wanted to be. There comes a time when a man realizes that the memory of her isn't fading, it's deepening. Not because she occupied his life extensively, but because she occupied his psyche meaningfully. And the reason is simple. A woman in her true feminine power does not leave impressions. She leaves awakenings. She doesn't just echo in a man's mind. She resonates in his inner world. What makes this resonance so powerful? It's the way she lives from her center. She doesn't rush to explain herself. She doesn't scramble to be understood. She doesn't negotiate her worth in emotional currency. Instead, she moves from an internal stillness that communicates more than words ever could. Jung described this as the emergence of the self, the inner organizing principle that gives a person their sense of wholeness. A woman aligned with this self becomes a force of nature, not through intensity, but through inner clarity. Men feel this clarity. It steadies them. It disarms them. It challenges them in the most unexpected way, gently. Because when a man meets a woman who is sovereign within herself, he instinctively realizes he cannot win her through performance. He cannot impress his way into her world. He cannot manipulate her attention or rely on charm to hold her interest. She is immune to superficiality. She responds only to truth. And this is what he remembers. She made him want to show up honestly, not because she demanded it, but because her presence exposed everything false. Another profound thing happens around such a woman. He feels seen without losing his dignity. So many interactions in modern life are transactional, people trading validation, approval, or attention. But she doesn't operate from that place. She listens without judgment. She observes without trying to fix. She engages without trying to possess. Jung often said that the feminine psyche has a way of perceiving the whole person beyond masks and personas. When she embodies this, a man feels recognized in ways he rarely experiences, and recognition is unforgettable. But here's where the imprint becomes truly lasting. She does not betray herself for connection, not even a little, not even temporarily. Her boundaries are not walls. They are expressions of self-love. Her expectations are not demands. They are reflections of her standards. Her detachment is not coldness. It is emotional maturity. And in witnessing this, a man encounters a new kind of womanhood, one that expands what he believes is possible. Years later, he may not remember every detail about her, but he will remember how he felt in her presence. More awake, more sincere, more alive. There is something quietly transformative about a woman who lives from her inner truth. She does not announce her power. She does not need to. It reveals itself through the way she moves, speaks, breathes, chooses. And for a man, encountering a woman like this is not just memorable, it is evolutionary. She becomes a reference point, a psychological landmark he returns to long after she's gone. Why? Because she embodies something the masculine soul has been seeking for centuries. The union of strength and softness, the harmony of groundedness and intuition. In Jungian language, she is a woman who has begun integrating the archetype of the wise woman, the feminine principle that carries depth, insight, and spiritual maturity. Her presence stirs the same archetype within him, even if he doesn't understand why. When he talks to her, he feels the difference. She listens with her whole being, not just her ears. She speaks from essence, not ego. She doesn't rush to fill silence. She lets it breathe. And that silence becomes a space where truth can rise to the surface. Jung believed that the feminine psyche holds a unique capacity for creating inner space, a psychological womb for transformation. Around such a woman, a man feels something rare: permission to feel, permission to reflect, permission to slow down. But there is another layer to her impact, one that penetrates deeper. She does not cling. She does not grasp. She does not attach herself to outcomes. This detachment is not coldness, it is self-respect. She is connected to her own life, her own purpose, her own inner world. A man senses that she is not waiting for him to define her story. And paradoxically, this makes her more alluring. Because she is whole within herself, he feels drawn toward her world, not to complete her, but to be part of something meaningful. This is where the imprint crystallizes. He remembers the way she held her boundaries with grace. He remembers the way she expressed her desires without fear. He remembers the way she never shrank herself to fit into his comfort. She becomes a catalyst, not for his ego, but for his evolution. And here lies the psychological truth Jung pointed to again and again. When we meet someone who embodies what we have not yet integrated, they become unforgettable. She is unforgettable because she woke up the parts of him he had forgotten. There is something irresistibly memorable about a woman who is no longer ruled by insecurity or the need for external validation. She becomes a presence, not a performance. And this presence lingers in a man's psyche in a way he cannot fully explain, because she didn't captivate him with tactics, but with truth. When a woman steps into her true feminine power, she stops living from the outside in. She no longer shapes herself according to how others see her. Instead, she moves from her inner world outward, and that shift creates an unmistakable glow, not the glow of perfection, but the glow of alignment. Jung often said that the psyche seeks integration above all else. And when a woman achieves even a fragment of that integration, she becomes deeply impactful to everyone around her. Her femininity is no longer reactive, it is conscious. Her emotions aren't chaotic, they are wise. Her intuition isn't dismissed, it is embraced. And this conscious femininity does something rare. It makes a man feel safe in the presence of genuine emotion without feeling overwhelmed by it. She doesn't explode. She doesn't suppress. She expresses, clearly, calmly, honestly. Her emotional maturity becomes a lighthouse, illuminating the difference between intensity and intimacy. And this alone can imprint a man for life, because so many relationships are built on emotional turbulence rather than emotional truth. But what imprints him even more deeply is her self-trust. A woman who trusts herself radiates a certainty that cannot be manufactured. She doesn't ask, "What if I'm not enough?" She asks, "Is this aligned with my soul?" And alignment is unforgettable. Men feel this immediately. It creates a sensation of respect before attraction and reverence before desire. He is drawn not just to her beauty, but to her groundedness. Jung believed that wholeness in a person draws out wholeness in another. That is what she becomes, a quiet invitation toward authenticity. And then something else happens, something he may not even acknowledge consciously. She disrupts his patterns. He cannot treat her like he treated others. He cannot hide behind the same excuses. He cannot manipulate, perform, or seduce his way into her heart. She sees through masks, not because she is cynical, but because she is awake. Her clarity demands his clarity. Her honesty demands his honesty. Her stability demands his presence. He may rise to meet her, or he may retreat because he isn't ready. But either way, she becomes unforgettable, because she wasn't just another person in his life. She was a turning point. There comes a point when a man realizes that what he remembers most about her is not the way she looked, not the things she said, but the way she made him confront himself. A woman in her true feminine power becomes a mirror, not a reflective surface of flattery, but a reflective surface of truth. And truth, once seen, cannot be unseen. This is why she becomes unforgettable. In Jung's view, every meaningful encounter awakens a part of our unconscious. And when a woman embodies her authentic feminine essence, she awakens something profound in a man, his dormant capacity for depth. Most people move through life skimming the surface, half present, half asleep. But she is different. She moves with awareness, with intention, with a softness that carries strength behind it. And her awareness calls forth his own. Around her, he cannot hide behind his persona, the mask he shows the world. She doesn't attack the mask. She simply sees through it, and that alone dismantles the illusion. He feels exposed, but in a strangely comforting way. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Her presence whispers that same privilege to him. It tells him that authenticity is not only possible, it is necessary. But the imprint goes deeper. A woman aligned with her feminine power has an emotional field that is both soothing and challenging. She does not soothe his ego, she soothes his spirit. She does not challenge his worth, she challenges his avoidance. And this rare combination forces something inside him to shift. Even if he walks away, even if life takes them on separate paths, he cannot return to who he was before her. She has expanded his inner landscape. He remembers the way she held space for him without trying to fix or mold him. He remembers the softness in her presence that made him feel safe to be vulnerable. He remembers the firmness in her boundaries that made him respect her without question. Most of all, he remembers the way he felt more honest, more awake, more human in her presence. This is the psychological imprint. She awakened a version of him he didn't know how to reach on his own. And once a man has felt himself rise into emotional truth, even for a moment, he cannot forget the woman who sparked it. She becomes a symbol in his psyche, an inner compass pointing him toward his own evolution. There is a final truth, one that completes the circle of this entire journey. A woman who has stepped into her true feminine power doesn't set out to become unforgettable. She becomes unforgettable because she no longer abandons herself. This is the essence of her impact. This is the imprint she leaves. When a woman is rooted in her authenticity, she moves differently through the world. She chooses differently. She loves differently. She lets go differently. And this difference is not loud. It is profound. Jung believed that real transformation happens not in grand gestures, but in quiet shifts within the psyche. And that is exactly what she represents, a quiet revolution of the soul. A man remembers her because she lived from a place he is still learning to find within himself. He remembers her independence, not the performative kind, but the inner independence that comes from knowing who she is. He remembers her emotional presence, the way she listened with warmth yet never lost herself in someone else's chaos. He remembers her boundaries, gentle, firm, unmistakably rooted in self-respect. He remembers her intuition, the way she could sense truth without demanding it. He remembers her courage, the courage to walk away when something wasn't aligned, even if it hurt. She becomes the symbol of a different way of being, not a fantasy, but a possibility. And this possibility follows him into future relationships, future choices, future reflections. She becomes the woman whose memory doesn't spark longing, but awakening. The woman who showed him, by living fully in her feminine essence, that connection without self-abandonment is real, that softness with strength is possible, and that wholeness is the true foundation of love. In Jung's view, such a person embodies the self, the inner wholeness we all seek but rarely witness in others. When he sees it in her, even briefly, she becomes a guiding symbol of the life he could build, the love he could cultivate, the man he could become. And this is why he never forgets her. Not because she changed him, but because she reminded him of who he was meant to be. She leaves an imprint not on his memory, but on his evolution.